Today, let us understand the concept of id, ego, and superego, which is the psychoanalytic theory of Sigmund Freud, and we'll also understand Carl Jung's theory of identity and shadow sides. Sigmund Freud divided the psyche into three parts: the conscious, the preconscious, and the unconscious. So, starting with the conscious mind, it is that part of the mind which we are consciously aware of and that can be communicated either through behavior or through language. The preconscious part is that part which is mostly unconscious, but it can be brought into awareness by giving attention to it. And the unconscious part, it is totally unknown and it is out of one's awareness. Coming to psychoanalytic theory, Sigmund Freud gave three aspects of human mind. The first one is id, ego, and superego. So, id operates on the pleasure principle and is generally within the unconscious part of mind. Ego operates on the reality principle and it is within the conscious realm. Superego, it operates on the morality principle and it is present at all the levels, which is conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. Let us understand the new terms added in id. Id is your instinctual force and it has a very strong impact on one's personality. Id needs immediate gratification irrespective of time and place. If not satisfied, id is expressed in dreams, delusions, and hallucinations. There are new terms added to id which are the personal I, basal self, and the conditioned self. First, let us understand the self, which is our positive self. Now, the self is the realm of eternal consciousness. Dr. Mahesh Gandhi sir writes that within us, at the core of our being, is the seed of an all-embracing, non-finite and eternal cosmic consciousness. We call this as life center or the Atman. From this borns the personal I. We are on a journey of individuation, and as we progress along this path, we get more and more distant from the self. The goal of our evolution is to develop a sense of awareness within us, and with awareness, we have to return to the self, which is like an ocean. Now we go to the personal I, which emerges from the self, but as we progress towards individuation, we gain our personality. So with individuation, our personality gets more and more defined. Then we go to basal self. Now this includes the Freudian concept of id and Dr. Shankaran sir's concept of the source. Id, as per Freud, is the unconscious part of the personality that represents the basic human instinctual drives. It is the source of bodily needs, wants, desires, and impulses, particularly sex and aggression. It acts on the pleasure principle and it needs immediate gratification of any impulses, regardless of whether it is appropriate or not appropriate. This is our true self, our very true identity, and it is responsible for all our strengths and weakness. Now, if this is not expressed healthily, the internal harmony is disturbed and therefore disease occurs. Further, we go to the conditioned self. As the name suggests, we have to adjust as per the needs. Now, whose needs are we talking about? It is the societal needs that we are talking about. So, the conditioned self includes both ego and superego. It adjusts to the... Now, this is the demands of the basal self are not acknowledged by the society openly. So we try to suppress it and form a conditioned self before others. But in the safety of our private life, we express it. Now, why do we suppress the needs of the basal self? Is because of the fear of rejection. Let us understand the ego and the superego. Now, from one extreme of instinctual forces, the id, we go to the other extreme, which is the superego. This is basically, as discussed earlier, is the morality principle. So, the words associated with the superego are rules and regulations, legalities, punishment, and discipline. Now, the development of superego depends on one's upbringing and the parental norms followed in the society, followed in their family. This is mostly the negative programming, and this aims for perfection. Now, this has two parts: conscience and guilt. The conscience tells you what is right and what is wrong. It develops through internalization of basic moral principles and parental norms. The exact opposite of conscience is the guilt, and it arises when person thinks or behaves contrary to his or her conscience. It tightly controls the urges of id, and it is programmed based on societal restrictions. Now we understand the concept of the ego. But before we get into Freudian concept of ego, let me make things clear. The ego term which we refer in today's times is different from Freudian concept. In today's times, the word ego is used in context of self-importance, arrogance and pride. But the ego that Freud gave is the structured and organized part of the mind which mediates between id and superego. So the psychic function of ego is judgment, control, plan, tolerance and organize. Its task is to find balance between its drives and reality while satisfying basal self and superego. But superego is constantly watching over the ego and punishes it with feelings of guilt, anxiety, and inferiority. Ego allows the expression of these inner drives when the outer reality is conducive. It helps us in delayed gratification and on deeper understanding. When the ego is tampered with, most of the psychiatric illnesses arise. Before starting to understand Carl Jung's theory of identity and shadow sides, let us understand a very short concept of the ego ideal, which Dr. Mahesh Gandhi has referred to as an image of the perfect self. The ego ideal develops in the similar fashion or as that of conscience. It represents the embodiment of the norms adopted by the individual's parents. These norms are what the individual's parents approved of in the past and they were rewarded for it. The inner image of oneself as one wants to become. It consists of the individual's conscious and unconscious images of what he would like to be, patterned after certain people whom he regards as an ideal. When a person satisfies his ego ideal, he experiences a deep feeling of pride and well-being. Now let us understand very quickly the concept given by Carl Jung. Let us start with Carl Jung's theory of identity and shadow side. So the shadow is something which is not accepted by me and by the society, and the identity is that part of me which is accepted by me and others. So I want to glorify my identity and I want to keep my shadow side apart. Dr. Mahesh Gandhi sir writes that identity gives meaning to our life and helps us define ourselves. And we want to keep glorifying our identity. As we build our identity, we also build a not me identity, which includes what we negate and hate in us. Not me is the shadow part. It is that part of our mind that is totally unacceptable to us and is pushed into our unconscious mind by mental defense mechanism, which is known as repression. No one knows about it, neither me nor others. We are not aware of it, but may get expressed in dreams. His real self is denied and it is projected outside. When we don't accept our paths, we start projecting it on other people. So the shadow is the sum of all the denied, rejected aspects of reality which they do not want to see in themselves. Whatever we hate in others is what we really hate in ourselves. Whatever we reject goes into subconscious, but it remains active as shadow side and is responsible for creating the pathology. Everything that we don't want to be follows us as the shadow self. And if this is not integrated or healed, then this becomes the seed of the disease. So the true healing is the integration of identity and the shadow sides.